I recently came back from Quebec after a few weeks, and I think there's something wrong. I've always been that paranoid chick who believes in anything and everything. Every time I watch a horror movie, I expect something to happen to me that night. I know nothing won't, but still feared that I will live that nightmare. I got home and instantly felt like there was something wrong with my house. The mood was different. I usually have a very stressful vibe in my house, but when I walked through the door, I felt like I was in the wrong home. "I'm home," I yelled, awaiting a response from one of my family members. My mom stepped out of the kitchen and she looked different. I don't know what it was. She just stared at me blankly, as if a stranger had just walked into her home. "Hi," I said, smiling. She just stared at me, almost as if she didn't know me. After about 10 seconds, she suddenly broke her frozen stance and ran at me, giving me hugs and kisses. As she hugged me, I felt as if this wasn't my mother. I know this doesn't make much sense, but she was different. She couldn't stop smiling, even when I told her someone stole my purse in Quebec. My dad was the same as well. He hugged me and smiled my brother, Charlie, came down the stairs, and this is where it got weird. Me and my brother have a very love-hate relationship, and we don't really show each other affection. But when he saw me, he first gave me that same blank stare, then hugged me as well. It felt like I was in a house full of strangers. Charlie, like everyone else, wouldn't stop smiling. I could tell something was off. It was like they were completely different people. Even our dog Abby was acting odd. She's a very loving dog and adores my mom. She always follows her around and has major separation issues. But Abby was sitting in the corner, just staring at us. Her tail was tucked between her legs and her head was held down like she was in trouble. But she looked scared. I may be reading way too much into this, but I just had a gut feeling. "Where's Alex?" I asked. Alex is my sister, 2 years younger. "What do you mean, honey?" my mom replied. Her eyes were focused on me, but then shifted to the left. I turned around and saw Alex standing behind me. I don't know where she came from, but she just appeared. She just stared at me in some stance, and after a few seconds of silence, jumped up and hugged me. I was extremely confused as to why they were all acting so different. But I just assumed it was me being my paranoid self and shrugged it off. The next day was where things got weird. I woke up in my room and walked downstairs. My mom was standing in the kitchen, but she wasn't doing anything. She was just standing still, back towards me. I instantly noticed that some pictures had been moved around, and in odd places. One picture of a cow was hanging sideways. I also noticed that some pictures were slightly tilted to the sides. My mom is very picky about the house and hates it when anything is out of place. "Why are the pictures like this?" I asked her. She stood there in silence for a while. I felt a shiver down my spine. There was something wrong. "What pictures?" she replied. But it wasn't a question. She said it as a statement. Her voice was extremely deep. It almost didn't sound like her. I walked a little further down the steps and could see the wrinkles in her cheeks, spreading. She was smiling. What could she possibly be smiling about? She was facing the wall, doing absolutely nothing. "Are you okay?" I asked. She turned around instantly and the smile faded. "Of course," she smirked. "Would you like pancakes?" "Sure." I was starving. My brother came down the stairs and sat down beside me. He looked exhausted. Large, dark bags under his eyes, his once bright brown eyes now a dark gray. This is when I knew something was wrong. How could someone's eyes just turn gray. That wasn't possible. Alex came up from the basement and sat down beside Charlie. "There's a weird sound in the basement," she said. She smirked and looked at Charlie, whose face was completely blank. It looked like someone drained the life out of his. "Can you come check the sound out, Jane?" Alex asked me. I didn't want to. The basement always freaked me out. "Sorry, I can't. Alicia just texted me to come over. She got a new dog." Alicia was one of my good friends, but was also a good friend of Alex's. I was hoping that I could get to her house and tell her about all the weird things that were happening. I ate my pancakes, which tasted like crap, and headed over to Alicia's. I could feel my family watching me as I left. Their eyes pierced the back of my head, and I felt uneasy, as if I didn't know these people. When I got to Alicia, she was acting strange as well. I could see strands of her hair falling out, and her eyes were a dark gray as well. I just assumed that she had a long night partying. She loved to get blackout drunk. I hung out with her for an hour, telling her about what happened, but she never really spoke back to me. I felt like she was different too. I made up a lie that I had to go home, and she wouldn't stop asking me to stay. She even grabbed my arm fairly tightly and begged. I actually started to get scared and told her that I wasn't feeling well. She let go of my arm, smiled, and said goodbye. My stomach felt uneasy. These were not the people I knew. They were all acting so strange, as if something happened while I was gone. I don't know what to do. I don't want to go home. I'm sitting in my car in a mall parking lot. Everyone who passes me is smiling and staring at me. I keep getting texts from my family to come home, and Alex keeps asking me to check the sound in the basement. I don't know what to do. I think that there is something wrong with my town.